Today on Clubhouse Gas, we're lucky enough to be joined by friend of the show, Zane Smith, 12-year big leaguer, and we're going to talk about quite a controversial topic. That is whether or not to have your kid throw the breaking ball, and Zane is going to kind of weigh in on that and maybe give us an alternate pitch. So stay tuned. It's a very informative edition of Clubhouse Gas. Zane Smith, thanks again for joining us.
Good to be here.
We really appreciate it. Now, last time we talked about some stuff in the batter's box. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about your expertise, which is pitching. Now, the big controversy, and it has been for years and years, is whether or not to have youngsters throwing curveballs. And if you are throwing a curveball, what type of curveball? And if you're throwing that kind of curveball, how many curveballs do you throw? And whether or not it's good for the arm or bad for the arm, or there's just so many different things. I can't get into them. What is your opinion?
Well,
11-year-old throwing sliders.
That would be a big no-no. Well, I think most people's concern are that, you know, when these kids are throwing breaking balls, they're not throwing them correctly. And I mean, even in the, you know, when you get to the big league level, you can, you know, guys throw breaking balls, but they may not be throwing them correctly. And I hate to say it, but sooner or later, you will hurt your arm if you're not throwing breaking balls correctly.
And I mean, you can just do, when you feel the motion, when you do a motion of any kind of snap that kids are usually
it's more,
doing,
you know what, yeah, when kids, you know, try to manipulate the ball, you know, by using their wrist or doing this, they're gonna, you know, they're doing, it's not a natural motion anyway, throwing a baseball, you know, over the top. So, you know, when you start twisting your arm and wrist and stuff, it will, you know, it'll mess you up.
So what do? You just throw a bunch of fastballs and get yoked?
Well, you know what, I've played with a few guys that, you know what, have had long careers and had very successful careers, and basically they've got, you know, if you can throw fastballs, change-ups in the big league level and be successful, why couldn't you do it down here in the little league level?
So if it's good enough for Tom Glavine, Trevor Hoffman, Greg Maddux, it's good enough for...
I think it's good enough for anybody.
Well, why don't you show us how to throw a change-up?
Well, I think really right now, the circle change is what everybody's throwing, which is basically, you know, just kind of in these three fingers and just, you know, and you've got a circle right here, and that's why they call it circle change. And the beauty about this pitch is that you don't have to manipulate it, you don't have to do this or that. All you've got to do is basically throw like you're throwing a fastball, and the ball is going to come out slower than your fastball just because of the grip. And that's the beauty of the pitch. And I wish somebody would have taught me this when I was, you know, growing up, because once, you know, a young player learns how to pitch, and that's what I call this, once you get a changeup and a fastball, you become a pitcher. Once you learn how to pitch, it makes pitching so much easier that, you know, I mean, it's going to make these kids so much better at an early age, that where, you know, when they get to it, you know, the next level, you know, it might be easier for him to become a big leaguer.
Well, explain to me what you mean by pitching. Now, if I take one of my kids and put him out on the mound in a game and he throws to a batter, he's a pitcher.
Well, he's a thrower.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Well, I think most of us, you know, and I fell right into that category coming up. I mean, I threw hard. I was a left-handed pitcher that threw hard, and basically I had no idea. I mean, I could throw strikes, but I mean, I didn't know really what pitching was, as far as, you know, looking at a hitter, watching him take a swing off me and saying, well, you know what? He almost hit that fastball. Maybe I should take something off, or, you know, throw something that breaks to, you know, basically get him out.
So the trick is you teach him how to change speeds, and then you teach him how to think. Is that the key? Those are two things that are important.
I think you hit it on the head. You know what? When you learn to pitch, you become a thinker. You know, a thrower, you don't really have to think. You know what? Yeah, to rear back and throw the ball as hard as you can, what thinking is there in that equation? There's really nothing. You just try to throw it as hard as you can.
Well, who has more fun? Randy Johnson throwing 99 miles an hour, or a Greg Maddux throwing 85 miles an hour and just making guys look foolish.
Well, I really think Greg Maddux making guys look foolish is probably the better way to go.
I mean, how frustrating is it for a major league hitter to stand in there and the guy's throwing watermelons and they just can't touch it?
Well, all you got to do is listen to the big league hitters come in after they get out off of a guy like Maddux going, you know, the first thing they say is, man, I can't believe I didn't hit that pitch, because he's not going to get it by me. But being able to pitch, you're going to really get into the hitters' heads.
And the key for Maddux a lot of times, I think, is he gets them to hit the ball where he wants them to hit the ball.
Well, I know I was talking to you earlier. Basically, when I learned or tried not to strike guys out, I became a better pitcher. As far as, when you try to strike guys out, yeah, it looks good. You're up there in the, strikeouts. But it doesn't do you any good. I mean, I could strike out 12 guys and I could still get beat.
Right.
Now, you just, pitching, it just makes the game a lot easier.
You'd rather have a ground out to the shortstop than a strikeout.
Well, and it saves your arm.
Right.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in you got so many pitches in your arm, and then, you're going to get hurt.
Well, take me through one more time. Is there another grip besides the circle change grip? If maybe a kid's hand's not big enough?
A palm ball, just like a palm ball like this. I mean, really, there's a bunch of ways to throw changes. I played with guys that, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a guy, Randy Tomlin, used to throw a pitch. It was basically, it's like a split finger, but he did it like this.
Between his middle two.
And it was he called it the Vulcan. So, it just, kids got to play around, because I understand that some of these kids' hands are going to be pretty little.
Right.
So, I mean, really, the more you stick it back into the palm, the slower the ball is going to come out.
Because it has more contact with
the more you get it out on your fingertips, the harder it's going to be. And once they learn that, then they could start playing with putting on, taking off.
So the key is contact with the hand, exact same arm motion, so you're throwing the ball exactly just as hard.
Just like your fastball.
Exactly
yes.
like the fastball. It fools the batter, and then you can learn to be a pitcher and not a thrower.
Well, and like I said, we don't want these kids to try to take something off of it. That's what's the beauty of this pitch. You don't have to try to fool the hitter by, stopping your motion. Just go ahead and do it just like your fastball.
It's like hitting a full pitching wedge as opposed to a half.
Well, we've all seen the cartoon, right? Where the guy strike one, strike two, strike three. You know what? That changeup is just like that.
Just like
that.
You
all as a pitcher, once you learn how to pitch, all you're trying to do is throw the hitter off enough to where he's not going to take a good swing off you.
And it saves the kid's arm and prolongs his career and keeps him out of doctor's office.
Oh yes, the breaking ball eventually you will hurt your arm.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. A lot of good information there. Now it's time for you. Click on the message board link. Start a post right there. Tell Zane why he's wrong. Do you find a lot of time when you're coaching kids that the dads want to tell the big league pitcher he doesn't know what he's talking about?
Well, unfortunately, there is a lot of times where we get a lot of people that seem to think that they know more than us, just because they played Little League baseball, and they all are entitled to their own opinion. But I've seen enough to know that I have a little idea of what I'm doing.
Well, I'm going to stick with the pros. But I want to hear from you. Go to the message boards. Let's talk about this a bunch. Don't forget, share this link. Click on the button. You can send this to all your friends. Show them that Casey Bass knows Zane Smith. Told you, Dad. There he is right there. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for another exciting edition of Clubhouse Gas.
Did you tell that was a changeup?
It moved a little.
Yeah. See, but I mean, there's no difference between, there should be no difference between your arm speed. I'm catching a big league pitcher at 46 feet.